Hello, I welcome you to yet another interesting presentation. Um, I indicated exhausting the kinds of visas, UK visas, along the lines of the factors that occasion or could occasion via rejections. I started with the visitor visa. I was clear that the visitor visa is issued to people who want to visit their families in the UK, and it has a validity period of 6 months or 180 days. We said that factors such as one's inability to prove his financial capacity uh, could account for the visa, his or her visa rejection. Also, if the person has had criminal records in the past, it could also affect it could also affect um, his approval, visa approval, on health grounds for not being able to pass the tuberculosis test. Also, inability to prove that you have strong financial ties, among others, were some of the factors we said could occasion the rejection of UK visitor visa. Today, I want us to look at another type of visa. Remember that these visas, because they are of different categories, the factors that account for their rejections are different. So the factors that account for the rejection of visa A is different from the factors that account for the rejection of visa B. And I think it is important that we note those things. However, there are certain factors that cut across all of them. Today, I want us to look at the study or the student visa, formerly the Tier 4 visa. Yes. Um, yes, so I want us to look at the study visa and the factors that account for their rejection. It is refreshing to note that the refusal rates of study visa or student visas are uh, very, 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 very low. It's on the lower side, in fact, between 3 to 5%. So, what it means is that for every 100 applications, student visa applications that are made, only about 3 of them or 5 of them are rejected. And so it tells you that the student visa has a very high um, approval rate. However, you cannot take chances. Uh, the fact that it doesn't have a 100% approval rate tells you that still there are some rejections. And so it is important that we take note of those in order that we do not find ourselves amongst the paltry 3 to 5%. Good. So, what factors could occasion the rejection of my study visa? In fact, I have sourced information from two credible um, two credible platforms, Amber Blog and then University of Huddersfield. They are of very high repute when it comes to the delivery of education in the UK. And so, this, according to them, they are direct stakeholders. These, according to them, are some of the factors that could occasion the rejection of student visas. One, one is incorrect information. Yes, incorrect information. Um, as I indicated, student visas have very high approval rates. Very high approval rates. So the ones that are rejected are purely done on technical grounds, purely on technical grounds. So it is important that we take note. Incorrect information. You do not provide the Home Office, people reviewing your information, your visa, with correct information. Yes, and that can affect your chances of getting approved. So it is always important that when uh, we seem to have completed our application, it is important that we find a third party that can go through and then point out if there are any mistakes before finally submitting them for review. And then the second one is incomplete application form. Incomplete application form. So the visa application form. Not everyone is conversant with the visa application processes and the form for that matter. So it is important that you find someone who is conversant with the visa application processes, and make sure you fill all the sections that you are required to. Yes, because if you do not complete those sections, um, the reviewer, the person reviewing your application, would not know exactly what to do. And it is not every reviewer that has the patience to request for such information to be able to make your application complete. So what he would do is just to have your application rejected. So the second one is uh, incomplete application form. Always make sure that your application form is completed. Cross check, double check, cross check, double check. In fact, if you have anybody around, make sure the person checks it as well before having your submission. Other than that, if you leave a vacuum, the reviewer would not know exactly what you meant, and might end up taking a decision that would not favor you. Good. So the third one, according to Huddersfield University and then Amber blog, is poor academic records. Yes, poor academic records. I stated in one of my videos, in my earlier videos, that your records must be fairly good. Your results must be fairly good. The UK has standards, when it comes to education, and they wouldn't want to compromise on those standards. So it is important that you have good academic records. Remember that your university can issue you admission on the basis of whichever uh, academic records grades you present. However, the honors of entry clearance or the visa lies with the counselor or the reviewer. So your university offering you admission is not the end. The counselor or the reviewer can act contrary. Yes, that even though your university has issued you or has offered you admission to study in the UK, upon reviewing your documents, he doesn't deem you fit. And when it comes to the issuance of visa, it is the Home Office, your reviewer, and not your university that has the final say. And so the bottom line is that you must have fairly good grades. If you do not have fairly good grades, it could affect the chances of your visa approval. The fourth one is incomplete documents. Yes, incomplete documents. Um, are you working? Yes, I am working. If you are working, what shows that you are working? If you are working, uh, one of the things or one of the documents showing that you are working is your pay slips. Okay, so you are required to provide your pay slips. You are required to provide your appointment letter and a host of other documents. If you do not provide those documents in full, you stand a chance of getting rejected, because you are required to provide those documents. And so if you are unable to provide them, it means that your application is incomplete, and that can affect the chances of you getting approved. And then They also mention incomplete interview skills. Yes, in my earlier videos, I mentioned that some of the universities, some of the universities would require that you take what we call credibility interviews. The credibility interview is made to assess a wide range of attributes, your ability, your analytical ability, and a host of others. So if you don't do well in those, there are cases where the Home Office, people responsible for approving your visas, could request for the transcripts. If they have any doubts, they could request for your transcript, your interview transcript, to determine whether indeed you were qualified or you are qualified to pursue a higher program in the UK. And so, poor interviewing skills, it is important that you prepare during your credibility interview so that in an event that your transcripts, your credibility interview transcripts are requested by the Home Office, uh, that would be a good account. You would have given a good account of yourself. And then, of course, English language proficiency. English language proficiency. The UK is an English speaking, you know, zone, and so you are required to be able to use the English language. I mean, demonstrate some level of competence when it comes to the English language, ability to listen, read, write, listen, you know, and speaking to some acceptable levels, so that you can cope with your academic requirements. So it is important that you acquaint yourself with the English proficiency. In fact, um, because we are Ghanaians, and the fact that we had education, our system is such that from primary through to the university, uh, our medium of instruction is English language. Sometimes we might not need uh, any of the testing certificates, IELT, TOEFL, and others. All we need is what we call an English language proficiency letter, a letter indicating that you have taken your education in English, for which reason you'll be able to cope with studies involving English as a medium of instruction. So that's about it. You should demonstrate some level of proficiency when it comes to English. So less IELT, we might not be you know fully involved in this case. IELT, it is also acceptable. People would want to write the IELT instead of going to their university to claim a proficiency letter, and it is also acceptable. People would want to present test scores instead of going to the university to uh, instead of going to their universities for proficiency letters, especially people who want to come on scholarship. They would want to have uh, high marks for their IELT. So if you have poor IELT, what is IELT? IELT means International English Language Testing System. It's a system that tests your proficiency level. Yes, so you can write that exams, and then that could also form the basis of your admission. If your IELT is poor, that could also lead to your visa getting rejected. And of course, if you have had criminal records, if you have criminal records in the past, yes, if your record is not good enough, the UK would not admit you to come and study because of the potential threats you possess. So having criminal record would definitely lead to your visa refusal. And then there's one important thing. It is called the study gap. Study gap. A study gap um, is the period you were not engaged in any academic activity. For example, if you completed your first degree in 2016 and you want to come and pursue a master's degree in 2024, the study gap is the difference between 2016, the difference in years between 2016 and 2024. You get it. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So 8 years. Some schools require that your study gap should be a minimum of 5 years. Um, and so if your study gap is above 5 years, they require that you you tell them in written terms and in clear terms what activities you were engaged in over that period, between that period of 2016, where you took a break from your studies, and then 2024. So gap years. If you are not able to explain in clear terms what accounted for your break in study between 2016 and 2024, then of course your student visa would be rejected. And then lack of proof of financial capacity. Yes, lack of proof of financial capacity. As you come here, you should be able to prove that you are capable of catering for yourself, so that you do not become a burden on anyone. So you should, by way of your bank statement, prove that you are capable of caring for yourself, in order that you do not become a burden to anyone, because you are not entitled to hold any public funds. And so, by way of your statement, in fact, the University of Huddersfield suggests that you make sure that within the 28 days period, the amount you are required to put into your account never dips. Yes, and I think it is a widely uh, accepted it's a widely accepted position. Your bank statement, if you want to come here, you must have a certain amount in your bank statement for a period of 28 days. So within that period, you make sure that the amount involved, the amount they are talking about, never goes down. You rather top it up. So for that period of 28 days, if it is about £22,000 or £25,000, you make sure that those monies are intact. You never touch them. And that is the most important thing. So on the basis of what I have said, you know that it is refreshing, very refreshing, to apply for a study or student visa, because the rejection rate is very, 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 very low. However, if you take things for granted, you could be rejected on technical grounds. Good. So I hope that this is clear. I've said that incorrect information, incomplete application form, poor academic records, incomplete documentation, incompetent interview skills, English language proficiency, less IELTS, that is if your IELTS is poor, um, and then if you have had uh, criminal records in the past, if you have had a study gap that you are unable to explain, and lack of proof of financial capacity. These are the factors that could account for your student visa rejection. I believe that you found this useful. I'll see you some other time. I think the student visa is for every prospective, individual who wants to study. The rejection rate is very low. the approval rate very high. Why don't you take advantage of this visa? Visit your dreamland, the UK. See you some other time. Bye.